Okay guys, today what we're going to discuss is solving equations using the distributive property. So before we go any step further, we need to just remember what the distributive property is. I'll give you an example. An example of the distributive property is something maybe like this. Negative 5 times x plus 4. The distributive property says I'm going to distribute this number on the outside through multiplication to every item, every term inside the parentheses. Now, through multiplication, so that's negative 5x minus 20. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times 4 is minus 20. So that's going to be used today as we go through our lesson. Now remember, the meaning of solve means we're going to try to get the variable by itself. I cannot solve for a variable if it's locked inside parentheses, so I need to make sure that I remove it from the parentheses. And so we're going to follow this pattern here. If we have any parentheses, we're going to remove those first based on what's directly in front of the parenthesis. Remember that, directly in front, meaning what is right next to the parenthesis. We're going to simplify each side of the equation individually, meaning if there can be any like terms, combine them and such before we start moving things across the equal sign. Like step 3, get your variables together and your numbers together on one side. And this says solve using old skills. Look at notes. What that means is look in your old references, because most of our problems are going to come back to look like something we've done before, two-step equations or something like that. So let's really get into it and see what happens here. So we got this example here, example 1. In example 1, it says to solve, and we have this problem. So step number 1 should be to do the distributive property. If I multiply negative 8 times x and negative 8 times 1, I get negative 8x and negative 8. The 4x came straight down because it wasn't involved. Now step number 2 says to combine like terms, and notice on this side, the left hand side, those two right there can become negative 4x. Now notice this step right here is a two-step equation, one that we've done many times so far. And so in a two-step equation, you remove your addition and subtraction first. And then I divide by negative 4, which gives me x equals negative 4. Number 2. Number 2 starts off negative 12x minus 9 plus 24x plus 4 equals 43. How did I get this right here? This negative 3 times 4x gave me 12x, negative 12x, and negative 3 times 3 gave me that negative 9 there. So as I combine like terms, I'll have 12x minus 5 equals 43. 12x, negative 12 plus 24x becomes positive 12x. Negative 9 plus 4 becomes negative 5. And again, if you look at this right here, it's a two-step equation. Familiar. So add 5 to both sides in order to solve this two-step equation now. And we divide by 12 and we get x equals 4. So pretty much what I've done is added one more step. Distributive property, and then combine like terms, things that we should all know. All from here down is a review of previous notes. Number 3, let's look at number 3. Number 3, we have our first step being 5x minus 9 plus 2x equals 20x minus 15. Now, some people make the mistake, and it happens from time to time, that this right here is what we multiply by. We skip over the sign. We're always looking for the first number or variable. Please keep in mind, whenever you do the distributive property, signs count as well. This is almost like a negative 1 right here. And so you can't exclude this negative. This negative made this positive 9 become negative, and this negative 2x become positive. Distributive property over here, 5 times 4x gave me 20x, 5 times negative 3 gave me negative 15. So my next step would be 7x minus 9 equals 20x minus 15. Get your variables together. This is the first one I've worked like this today, where I have two variables on either side. So I move the smaller one. It gives me negative 9 equals 13x minus 15. But look again here. We have a two-step equation. Remove your addition and subtraction on a two-step equation first. So that gives me 6 equals 13 at x. Wrong. I was skipping a step. Then you divide by 13 to both sides. So those cancel out, and I'm left with x equals 6 over 13, which is okay because every answer is not going to be a nice, pretty whole number. Now, number 4. 2 times x, 2 times 4 gives me 2x plus 8 minus 5 equals 2x plus 3. Notice that I did not say 2 times this negative 5 here. It's not inside the parentheses. My next step is 2x minus 3 equals, plus 3 equals 2x plus 3. Get your variables together. You get 3 equals 3. Now, which is strange, but there's a part that I did not discuss. Okay, guys, I was just interrupted, and I don't even remember where I was, but I paused the video. I believe I was here, and I was going to come up here and remind you that when variables subtract out, the answer is one of two things. Actually, this is not a reminder because I haven't showed you this yet. But if you have a true statement with what you have that's left over, then your answer is all real numbers. And that's what I have here. I have a true statement. And so 3 equals 3. And even if I subtracted 3 to both sides, it would be 0 equals 0, which is still a true statement. This is only when your variables subtract out. You can't have any more variables if you're going to use all real numbers. Now, if what you have left over is a false statement, then the answer is no solution. So look at this, number 5. As I look at number 5, I would first recognize that there isn't any parentheses, but that's okay. 3m plus 1 equals 3m plus 9. I subtract 3m from both sides, and that is 1 equals 9, which is a false statement. 1 does not equal 9. That means this problem, the answer is no solution. So, do the distributive property first if you have it. If you don't worry about it. Continue combining like terms and solving as usual. And that is how to solve equations using the distributive property. Now, Merry Christmas.